Alright, hey everyone, it's me again, back with another sound design tutorial. This time I'm going to be talking about the main bass sound in my newest track called The Relic. You should check it out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the sound in context of the song first and then by itself and then talk about how I made it. So here we go, playing in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's the sound, and if I just go ahead and solo it, here's what it sounds like by itself. Okay, so that's without the sub or anything playing. So the way the sound works, like a lot of the sounds I do, is we've got these macros here, and this is the same macro. But basically what happens is I map that macro to a whole bunch of things in Serum. So it's macro 1, and as you can see, it's sort of mapped to like a bazillion different things, and you know, it just makes it kind of make that strange talking sound. But what I did was, the basis of the sound is I found a dubstep snare, like the really thumpy 200 hertz kind of thing, and dragged it in here, and then squarified it, which you can do by saying multis process squarify. So this got squarified, and then I FM'd it, and it's by this guy, and moved the wavetable and stuff a little bit. But some of the interesting character of the sound is given by this comb filter here, and I guess the compressor a little bit. So we'll hear that in a minute, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and show you the effect that each of the components has on the sound. So here we go. Again, this is what it sounds like. Okay, and then if we remove all of the effects, here's what it sounds like. So that's just this, right? So this snare that I messed with, it's being FM'd and then filtered. So if I turn the effects back on and then turn off this filter, so that kind of gives it the valley-ness. So let's just start from here. We've got a unison of 2, and then the detune being modulated slightly by this guy. So when this goes up, it'll sound a little bit wider. If I bypass this real quick. That was just to get it to change like stereo as the sound morphs. Same thing with this wavetable position. If I bypass this, so that actually changes the sound quite a bit, right? That little tiny modulation changes it a lot. And also this FM, let me just be smart about this so I don't lose the position. I'm gonna turn the FM off, and here's what it sounds like. So that sounds ridiculous, right? So basically snare, modulate the wavetable a little bit, and FM it, and then this filter, what happens over on this filter is we've got this macro changing the cutoff with this peak here. So when this goes up, it makes it do that sort of like talking sound. And then also this frequency here, again, is a little bit of formant stuff going on. It's just one oscillator, this is off, this isn't outputting anything. So now we get to the interesting part. We've got this filter here, which is using the combs filter, which is really cool. I use it all the time. So if we turn this off, you'll hear a drastic difference. So I really like the way the combs filter and the reverb filter in Serum sound. They're kind of similar, they just mess up the sound real bad. And if you pull the cutoff way down and modulate it a little bit, you get these really funky sounding sounds, and I don't know, I just like to do that. And then to make it change even more, I put this macro on the mix, so it would sort of change over time. I'm kind of curious what that sounds like without it. So yeah, that adds to it a little bit too. The next couple things are just stuff I do on every sound: hyper, distortion, flanger, phaser, chorus, They just add a little bit of stereo to it, but it's not too big of a difference, honestly. If I just go ahead and do this, there's almost no difference. I just kind of put this on everything. So what happens is I did that detune thing here again with the macro. So as it goes up, it gets a little bit more detuned and wide from that, and the distortion goes up, and I guess the flanger doesn't really do anything, but the phaser gets more mixed in and the chorus gets more mixed in. I just kind of do that to make it morph more. So yeah, it just adds a little bit of width, so we can hear it without hyper. That might make a difference. So yeah, those don't really affect it too much. So let's get on to the good part. Compressor, put it on multi-band because I love the setting. It's basically the Ableton OTT thing, or X for OTT, whatever, which is a copy of the Ableton one. I do the same macro modulation on the gain to make it get a little bit louder, so it kind of like wobbles a little bit. And then we've got this EQ here, which is something I do in pretty much every sound. This gain goes up, so it makes this little peak here, and we've got this little like notch, I guess, here. And what happens is this frequency goes up and this frequency goes down as the macro moves. So you can hear how that changes the sound. It's pretty cool. So that's the bulk of the sound. And then I have these LFOs. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to make it change over time a little bit. So what happens is this rate is set to 1/2 for this LFO. I don't actually remember where this one's mapped. I don't think it's that important though. The important one is this guy. This guy is set here, so the detune increases a little bit again over time and then kind of decreases again. I didn't want it to be like the same thing. If I did like this motion twice, I wanted it to be different based on where you are. So it would just morph over time, and then the same idea with this guy, it's down and then up, so there's like two different states it switches between at 1/2. So what this does is it changes the randomness, so you'll have more phase randomness, so it'll sound wider. This might actually be pretty interesting. So see how that changes the sound a little bit. The idea was just to make it more, random. So it would change. Just like everything else. This is sort of the idea. Modulate as many things as you possibly can. You get an interesting sound out of it in the end. So if we go to the mixer, we've got phaser, flanger, saturation, dimension expander, EQ. Oh man, that EQ is pretty messy. And then just a Maximus. So if we turn off all the effects, it sounds kind of the same, but not as big. Right. So this phaser, I kind of do the same thing as I do with this phaser. I just kind of turn the rate off and just kind of plop it somewhere. And then this flanger, I do the same thing. I turn the rate off and just plop it somewhere so we can hear with and without. Small difference, not that big of a deal. I just kind of do that on everything. Saturation. And dimension expander. Again, I just kind of throw those on everything. So the important thing here, again, I got a low cut, take out a low so the sub comes through, and then I boosted these here, which you're not supposed to do, but whatever, because I looked at this and saw there was like a big hole here, so I kind of wanted to push this up a little bit. So if I turn off the EQ, you'll probably hear a pretty drastic difference actually. I don't know if you can tell, but when I was messing with it, these seemed like they made a lot of impact. And then this guy monos the low end and compresses it a little bit. This is just some kind of goofy thing I decided on to push the mids a little bit. And then this, I think, is like saturating. And then it's kind of destroyed here. Once it goes over 0 dB, it gets crushed by this little saturator thing. So I don't know, I just kind of like to do that to even it out a little bit. That's pretty much the sound. Hope you enjoyed the video. You know, check out my channel. There's more videos like this. Be sure to subscribe and all that stuff. Keep a lookout in the future. Thanks for watching.